Hi everyone. My day started at 3 this morning in Montreal, so I'm a little tired. I'll try to be coherent. So I'm going to talk about land grabs as a specific case, but I think overall in agriculture and food, the amount of loose capital or loose financial capital, the amount of loose financial capital that has been going into agriculture and food system has been on the rise for at least a decade now. And it really started to take off with the food crisis and the financial crisis in 2007, 2008. It's been going into commodities, into agricultural commodities, speculation. It's been going into leveraged buyouts by private equity firms of companies within the food industry with obvious implications for food workers. It's been going into equities, as Antonio mentioned, into biofuel companies, into Monsanto, into new transnational agribusinesses in emerging, what they call emerging countries in Brazil, like companies like JBS, now the world's biggest meat corporation, largely financed its transnational growth through the stock markets. But one of the most troubling developments has been since 2007, 2008, where we've seen financial players trying to get more of a direct control of food producing resources, so land and the water that's associated with it. For them, the equation is pretty clear. The demand for food keeps going up. Everyone has to eat. And there are a number of constraints on the supply. They talk about climate change and dwindling production. They talk about yields going down, water crisis in many countries. A lot of these things are true. And of course the stock markets are now sort of unreliable for the profits that they want to generate. But if you're a financial investor, how do you get control of farmland when most of that land, the vast majority of that land, is in the hands of small farmers around the world, or pastoralists and indigenous people? It's not like bankers are jumping out of their office chairs and going down and starting to be farmers. They're actually trying to get the land out of the hands of farmers themselves, and they want to convert that land into an asset class that they can trade, that they can profit from. So they want to turn it into a commodity. This isn't about just selling farmers more GM seeds or selling them tractors. This is about actually taking control of the farm itself. Now that growing financial interest, because we're talking about a lot of money here, has created a boom in what are now being called farmland funds. So a lot of funds have been set up specifically to channel that loose financial capital into the acquisition of farmland. They're targeting wealthy individuals, they target banks, they target corporations, private equity funds, sovereign wealth funds, and in particular pension funds and other institutional investors. And then they tend to, the fund will pool that capital and then go out and try to identify farmland that it can buy around the world. And it'll work with these sort of new corporate farming companies that are springing up to operate those farms. In October 2009, we were able to identify about 120 of these funds that had already been launched within the 2 years prior to that. Many of them are backed by development banks, such as the World Bank, such as the African Development Bank, even the US OPIC. They typically are registered in tax havens, Cayman Islands, Bermuda, and their numbers are growing. And if you look next week, there's a global ag investment conference, which is very much focused on farmland. And you look at the list, each year it grows. They've had it now 3-4 years in a row, and each year the list of farmland funds and investors grows. Just to give a couple of examples, because there are many, but I'll just focus on two. 1 minute left, oh my goodness. Okay. Well, one is the Ultima One World Agricultural Fund in New York City. It's a fund set up by a London hedge fund. It has an equity infusion from the International Finance Corporation, setting up in Eastern Europe, in Zambia, in Australia and in Argentina, where it's partnered with one of the companies that has been largely born out of the soy boom there. So that company has gone from growing on 200,000 hectares in Argentina to now growing on nearly 1 million hectares worldwide. Not just in Argentina, but now Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia, Ukraine, Russia, and even now starting to target Africa. So it's enabled that expansion of the model of GM soybean agriculture much more largely. Another example would be TIAA-CREF. TIAA-CREF, one of the largest pension funds in the U.S. It handles the retirement savings of teachers and cultural workers here. It's one of the largest farmland investors, actually. It has over $3 billion wrapped up in farmland. It has over 400 farms. It farms on over 600,000 hectares. And if you look at how it's invested in Brazil, there it's partnered with the largest ethanol and sugar company in Brazil. And they have, they're planning on over $1 billion in investment in farmland to take over about 400,000 hectares of land, which they will convert to sugarcane production. And we can go on about the negative consequences of the expansion of sugarcane plantations in the U.S. But just to wrap up really quickly, what we're seeing in terms of what can be done. When it comes to farmland, you have, of course, a big backlash that's happening to this large transfer of land from rural communities to rich investors. Even the media seems to grasp the social injustice of it all. And people are saying quite clearly, no, this has to stop. This cannot be commodified. This is not right, and we need to stop this land grab. But then you have a whole bunch of actors, from governments to international finance institutions, and of course to the corporations, who are saying, no, let's try to turn this into a win-win scenario. Let's develop some guidelines, some ethical standards, and basically let's add a few layers of cosmetics, and let's let this process unfold. And so that's where really the struggle is right now.